Blaiden, how are you feeling about the Browns?
I feel great.
Oh, look at this guy. Oh, he's so awesome. Take all the guys.
Now, to be fair,
my gosh.
Blaiden has never not felt great about the Browns. Welcome back to a very special episode of Stay Hot. We're talking about day one draft coverage. I'm Matthew Sponhour here with TikTok extraordinaires Theo Ash and Blaiden Kirk.
What's good, Matt?
Not the state of the Green Bay Packers. That's what's not good. I'll start off by saying that. Can I rant? Can I rant for a second here?
Yeah, just go for it.
Let's let Theo. Just
so last year at about this time, I was excited for the Packers 2020 NFL draft. We were one game away from the Super Bowl, came up short, and there were two positions on the team that really were solid, and that was having Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, and Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams at the running back position, right? And those were the two picks that they decided to go with in the first and second round. And they weren't even like well regarded. Like, it's not like Herbert fell to them and they took him. They reached on Jordan Love and they reached on AJ Dillon. And that, to me, as soon as it happens, was an indefensible move by the front office. I don't think there is any way to justify what they did. And, fast forward a year later, and Rodgers, of course, proves that he still is Aaron Rodgers, wins MVP. And still, the faith is not quite there from the organization, whether that be, kicking the field goal on the fourth down, whether that be not giving him a contract extension. And, if you're Rodgers and again, tonight, the first round of the NFL draft, reaching for a corner, Eric Stokes, like year after year after year after year, like I can see why this has reached a boiling point with Rodgers. And I would love it if he would just shut up and take it. And, I don't think the Packers are a bad roster at all. So I don't think you can say that they've gotten him no help. But when you're so close to the Super Bowl and these are the directions they go and they don't go all in to win with him. And instead, when he's this close, they start planning for the future. I can see why he would just be like, trade me then if you're planning for the future when we're this close. So when those rumors broke today, that's just kind of a core memory for me as I'm sitting here watching the TV and Schefter comes on and says Rodgers is going to demand a trade. And I don't know where this goes in the future, but I don't know. It's just incredibly frustrating. And I can see where his frustration comes from. And I'm also a little bit frustrated with him too, because we're not that far off from getting to the Super Bowl. I don't know, but that's just kind of, I don't quite have a solid take on it right now. It's just incredibly disappointing from Rodgers and the front office, and the Packers organization is in the mud officially, down horrific, and I'm down I'm down bad. Everyone's down bad. Packers.
Theo's having the worst time right now. That was quite the rant.
That
was
my
quite
rant.
the rant.
Seriously.
Yeah, that's how I'm going to open.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I get what they're trying to do. I get, the Jordan Love move. I do understand, like, they don't want to be left with, just like holding the bag, I guess, or left with no quarterback. But Rodgers hasn't showed some signs of slow. It's not like all of a sudden Rodgers is starting to look like a little old. He just won MVP. Well, I mean, they drafted him and then he went out and won MVP.
Right. They're trying to build it for the future and also build for right now. And what's going to end up happening is they don't win a ring in either era. Like, they're trying to skate an impossible line. And that's just how it's going to go. They're not winning a ring with Rodgers anymore. Like, I just don't see it happening. And they're probably not going to win a ring with Jordan Love. Like, I really think they just botched this. And they tried to have the same transition as Favre to Rodgers, but it's hard to do. And I don't think they did it correctly.
Well, maybe on a little bit of a brighter note, Blaiden, how are you feeling about the Browns?
I feel great. I know Theo's having
look
a
at
terrible
this guy.
time.
Oh, he's so awesome. Take all the guys.
Now, to be fair, Blaiden has never not felt great about the Browns.
Okay. But this is also the first time in my life where the Browns have picked this late. Like, that's we
true.
talked about this during the draft. That's not an exaggeration. This is the first time in my life where the Browns have held the 26th
20-year-old
pick.
man.
20 years old.
20 years old.
Grown ass adult. Never
is
had
the
to stay
first-
up this late. Usually he's going to bed at 8 p.m. Like,
Is this the first time in my life where the Browns pick has been later than I am old? Like,
Probably not.
probably the first time since you turned into a teenager. Like,
No, because they
that's-
made the playoffs in like 2007 or something, right?
Yeah, but
No,
like,
they
yeah,
were
probably
10 and
since you
6, they
turned
didn't make the playoffs.
Well, then for sure
They were
that
10
year
and 6
you
and
were
missed the
6.
since you turned
They
a
made the
teenager.
playoffs one
yeah.
year. They made the playoffs
They
and
made
lost
the
to the
playoffs in
Steelers.
2002.
What do you think
Really?
about them
So, okay,
passing?
yeah, they had a higher pick then. They had a higher pick that year.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think about them passing on a linebacker when they picked up the Rams guy, Troy Hill, right? They signed him.
Yeah.
They signed him for $9 million, and now he's your cornerback 4. Do you question that at all?
I mean, yeah. I think the Browns wanted to go just with a deeper secondary. Coming off a year where our secondary was maybe one of the worst in the league. So I think that might have been, a little bit of fear of, we just got to stack up on our secondary and make sure we're really solid there, which I can understand, especially from an analytics perspective. I'm a big analytics guy, and the analytics say that, your defensive backcourt needs to be solid. That is the most important position on defense right now, especially with, we, almost beat the Chiefs. If we go into next year, going against the Chiefs and the Bills, you need to have that good secondary. Those are two of the best quarterbacks in football. And you play Lamar twice a year.
And Denzel Ward is injury prone. Greg Newsome is injury prone, and
Yeah.
Greedy Williams is coming off
Greedy
an injury.
Williams.
But yeah.
So
How about you, Matt? Panthers, they took J.C. Horn. Not the guy who is probably at the very top of your wish list, but how you feeling about Horn?
I was going to release like a wish list, like in order, and Horn wasn't going to be on there. Not because I have anything against Horner, because I don't like the pick. I just wasn't expecting it. And this is usually what the Panthers do to me. I would have liked Fields, I'll be honest. Fields, like if I was the Panthers, I probably would have taken Fields right there. But J.C. Horn is a very good player. He's very athletic. He did a good job against good receivers in the SEC. And he fills a position of need. Plus, he's a South Carolina guy. If I could be one of those fans who's really upset because we didn't pick the exact guy that I wanted, but taking into account, how good of a prospect he is and how good of a fit he is for us, I'm not going to sit here and complain about it.
Yeah. Speaking of Fields, I think the Bears taking Fields is probably the big, the move.
It was
everyone's
the
going to
move.
remember.
yeah, no. I
from
think
this
that's
first round.
The best value pick in the draft, other than maybe Slater.
Yeah, the fact they had to trade up for him takes a little bit of the value off of him. I think they gave him a first next year, but
And a little bit more.
Yeah, and a little bit more. But
in terms of, you had to do it.
Yeah, you get a franchise quarterback.
But you had to do it.
Yeah, and Dalton, they're not going to win anything with Dalton. And again, if they have and here's the thing about the Bears, I think their coaching staff is not quite as bad as people think it is, just because at the end of the year, I distinctly remember Mitchell Trubisky turning it around a little bit. And Mitchell Trubisky had a run of some good games. And I went and watched those games, and they started being a little bit more Shanahan-y, a little bit more McVay-esque with the play actions, which in my opinion, play action is kind of a cheat code. And they started having more rollouts and hitting guys in the easy passes. They started designing easy passes. And Trubisky wasn't lighting stuff up, and he still made dumb mistakes. But if they go into next season with Fields and their coaching is as good as it was at the end of 2020, I think that offense goes from a big question mark to kind of a sneaky unit, because their offensive line kind of pulled it together. A-Rob is a fantastic wide receiver. So, the Bears all of a sudden are kind of a scary team, in my opinion.
I don't know if I'd call them a scary team, but I agree. Trubisky won MVP for a reason. But if I remember, I could be wrong. Nagy gave up play calling, and now he's taking it back.
That is true.
From what I could be, I think that's right.
No, I think you're right about that.
Looking at some of the other quarterbacks, though, Trevor Lawrence to the Jaguars, we're not going to discuss that because we don't know.
No surprise.
Same thing with Zach Wilson to the Jets, unless you guys have anything to say about that. I feel like that was kind of known.
I kept teasing at the idea that they might take Mac Jones.
I don't know why you were doing that, but Mac Jones, the stat I saw today against what was it, Blaiden? Against top 10 teams.
Oh, Zach Wilson against teams with more than 10 wins. 0 for 5, 1 for 7 touchdown interception ratio, and like a 60 passer rating.
So I think we all knew that Wilson was going number 2. I still don't like that pick. And number 3, Lance, was a little bit of a surprise. I think that he was someone that I went back and forth so many times on this pick. I did end up having Lance in my mock, but I think that could be sneaky, like elite
not even,
MVP.
Yeah, I
not
think
even
that's a really
sneaky.
good pick.
That Lance has he's a big guy with very good mobility. He's got an extremely good arm, and he seems like a really smart guy. That is, the perfect storm. I know he still has some accuracy issues. He's got some stuff to work through, but it seems like, with a guy that smart with Shanahan, he can work through it. And if he does, he's going to be insanely good. There's no limit to how good he could be.
Stellar.
Right. And I think that mobility aspect is such a game changer with McVay and that kind of system where they can start adding even more misdirection with read option and even more motion. I think that Lance was kind of, I don't know if it would be a home run pick because I do slightly prefer Fields to Lance, but I still do really like Lance. And I think, like you said, he's a combination of legs, arm, and mentality. So I expect him to kind of have a great career on the 49ers.
For sure. Well, let's get to the last guy here taken in the first round at quarterback, and one that I feel like I got to walk back on my take a little bit.
We all got exposed.
I thought I'm a little disappointed. I don't think that Mac Jones has a lot of people are like, oh, it's the worst pick of the last 10 years. I saw multiple people say that on Twitter. I wouldn't say that, but I don't believe in Jones particularly. And I'm a Cam Newton guy. I wanted to see Cam get a chance this year. And I'm not saying that he can't, but I feel like that's not a sign of confidence.
I think it's funny on our last show, we did, our mock draft, and you joked at the idea of me taking Mac Jones because I had the Patriots pick at 15.
Because you hate Mac Jones.
And they ended up taking Mac Jones. I just think it just doesn't make any sense. We talked about this. It really makes no sense. It's like 2 totally different quarterbacks. Like, why?
And that does make me wonder. I think Cam and Mac are just totally different people and totally different. Yeah. It's like just
they're polar opposites.
Literally could not get two.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of rare that you see a quarterback and his backup be just totally on different pages of the playbook and they just can't do the same thing. So I feel like it's a lot of work if you're going to start with Cam and then move to Jones midway through the season. That's going to cut your playbook down, or you're going to. So I don't know who's going to start there. I kind of feel like it might be Cam to start, and he's on a 1-year deal, and it'll be him until. I mean, we all know how it works. Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert, Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua. The list goes on where it starts with the rookie on the bench, and by week 4, it'll probably be Mac. And it'll be really interesting to see I think that's what's going to end up happening. And it'll be really interesting to see how the Patriots, adjust their offense for if and when that happens.
I don't get the strategy of having Mac Jones and is Cam Newton the backup for Mac Jones? It doesn't make much sense to me.
And they have a lot of picks. They could have traded up for Fields, probably.
That's what I think. Yeah. But regardless, let's talk a little bit about.
I kind of thought Fields would fall, but
regardless, let's talk a little bit about Sewell and Slater here for a minute.
And Darius.
Some of the tackles that went here. The Lions took Sewell at 7. They told me that I was going to go there, but
they lied.
I guess it just didn't end up working out like that.
Hey, you still got the jersey though.
Well, they didn't say you would go in the first, did you?
Yeah, they implied it. But I don't know. With the Lions, Sewell is a very good player, blue chip prospect at a position they need. So I'm not going to sit here and bash it or anything, but that roster has a ways to go.
A long ways to go. But I do like their offensive line. They've got Decker. Yeah. They've got Ragnow. Who is their center?
You're right.
Okay, yeah, it is Ragnow. They got Sewell now, and they got Swift, who's a good running back. So they can maybe lean on that running game and finish in the league top 3 in rushing attempts.
It's not that they have no
maybe
talent.
Win some games that way.
They maybe have the worst receiving core in football.
Right now, yeah, as it
Probably.
stands. But Elijah Moore is still there, and they'll have and Terrace Marshall is still there early in the second round.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, they'll have opportunities, but
and Sewell, I don't think you could pass. Like Sewell is hyper athletic, big. I mean, he was 18 years old when he started against Auburn at the beginning of the last time we saw him. So still super young. I really like that pick for them. So I thought maybe they would trade out, but with Sewell there, I get that. And with Slater, I was a little bit surprised to see him fall just because I heard that some teams were ahead of had Slater ahead of Sewell. So I kind of thought Slater was going to be a surprise kind of Andrew Thomas-esque pick where, Wirfs was kind of the one expected to go first last year and it ended up being Thomas. I thought we could see the same thing with Slater, but Slater actually fell a good deal down the board.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning towards maybe having Slater, potentially being higher than Sewell. I actually had Slater I think you did as well with I had Slater mocked at 6 to the Dolphins. And then, obviously they ended up taking Waddle. And I understand, trading back up to get a receiver. I think a receiver adds more immediate value. I just thought it made more sense because their O-line was hideously bad last year.
Yeah, there's not a ton of talent there. Tua does get the ball out relatively quickly though, so he may not really need the most elite of elite offensive line, and someone who can take a quick pass to the house might be more valuable. So I really like the Dolphins draft, and I think they had the best 2 picks in the first round, or the best first round.
But yeah, I mean, they did a good job. I just a little bit surprised they didn't go O-line.
For sure. And then Darisaw fell a ways to the Vikings. I had the Vikings taking Darisaw, but I had it happening at 14. And Darisaw is someone who's super athletic. His technique is not perfect, but it's pretty good. And his hustle is really high level. There was a play I can't remember against 2 that I was watching where it was a screen pass, and he ran the full length of the field to make a block at the goal line. Super solid size and athleticism and technique. And I guess there's some questions about his work ethic is something I saw on Twitter, and who knows if that's real or not. But at any rate, I think the Vikings were lucky to be able to trade back, get some more picks, and still get Darisaw. That was another one of the picks that I liked.
That was a really good move. And you talked about the Vikings often do a really good job of drafting. But I think the big surprise is Alex Leatherwood. Alex Leatherwood to the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders, it's not a surprise that the Raiders surprise ever. I'm surprised it wasn't more surprising.
Okay, yeah, it's not a surprise given it's the Raiders.
I would say that the real surprise was probably ETN to the Jaguars. We talked about this on the stream. I was reminded that they not only have James Robinson, but they have Carlos Hyde as well, who they went out and got. And I'm not saying Carlos Hyde is some guy where you need to plan your draft around him because he fills a position, but for a team that just got a very good running back as an undrafted free agent, it does not make any sense that they turn around and then use a first-round draft pick on ETN, who I don't even think is some super, super elite running back prospect. I mean, I like him. He does a lot of things well. I don't think he's going to be a bad player for them, but I just think from a value standpoint and from improving the team from what it is now, it doesn't really do a ton for them. I mean,
James Robinson may have been their best player last year. They were the worst team in the league. They had a good running back. You should be avoiding drafting a running back in the first round anyway. So, I mean, their safeties, who are they? Their tackles, who are they? Their corners, who are they? Their linebackers, Miles Jack is pretty good. Their pass rush, I know they have Josh Allen and Chase on, who is their first round pick, but the interior, who are they? Running back was just such a disaster pick. And maybe you guys as Ohio State fans can tell me a little bit more about the Urban Meyer mentality and what you think of him. But for me, this seems like I don't know. It seems like a move only Urban Meyer would make and not a seasoned NFL
It is a move
team
that you make if you literally do not it feels like someone playing Madden. It literally does. To the point where you don't understand how the actual NFL works. A team has not drafted a running back in the first round or paid a running back significant money and gone on to actually do well in recent years. It does not happen.
I actually have a couple concerns about Urban. Number one is that Urban Meyer's strength is as a recruiter. He's a fantastic recruiter. That does not matter in the NFL, really. My second concern is that Urban Meyer, no matter who he has at quarterback, other than Dwayne Haskins when it was like literally impossible, wants to run his quarterbacks like crazy. I remember, if you remember 2015 Michigan State game, when they ran JT Barrett more times than Ezekiel Elliott and blew the season with a team that was more talented than their 2014 team that won the national title. That team had 5 players listed as cornerbacks, all of them first-round draft picks. Crazy team. Because he's obsessed with running these quarterbacks like crazy. If he does that to Trevor Lawrence, he could be in trouble. I don't think Trevor Lawrence, he's a tall quarterback.
He's thin.
But his frame is not big enough to run like that.
And I bet you Urban tries it because he's an athletic guy. Yep. But yeah, that's definitely something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So hopefully Trevor learns to slide.
I could see the Jaguars doing a lot of like triple option stuff.
Yeah.
If they bring Tebow in, they're going to start doing
so
some
funny.
Really
oh my God,
stuff.
Tebow. We got to talk about Tebow. That is the number one.
The Tebow move makes
that is crazier than the Rodgers move, to be completely honest with you. Like Tim Tebow was last in the league in 2012. He's going to play tight end. Imagine getting blocked by Tim Tebow. Imagine being an edge rusher and you're like, okay, I'm going to go get a sack. And Tim Tebow's the one standing in your way. You've got to be like, oh man, retire old man. Here we go. Like I cannot imagine Tim Tebow lining up blocking for Travis Etienne. That is so cursed. That is cursed. How about the receivers too? That was a position that was considered to be like pretty deep, but not that many receivers went. How many did go? Chase, Waddle, Smith, Tony, Bateman? Those were the only ones.
I want to say someone else went. I could be wrong though. That's on me.
I think that's all of them. No,
all of them.
Chase, Waddle, Smith.
Elijah Moore fell, who is really good, and Terrace Marshall fell, who's really good. Some team is going to get an absolute steal for them tomorrow. I was hoping Rashad Bateman could save the Packers organization. That was something I was saying all night, is that the Packers will fold as a franchise unless they take Rashad Bateman and make Rodgers happy. But alas, they decided to take Eric Stokes. Rashad Bateman's a baller at number 27. I literally think Devontae Adams is a good comp for him. And the Ravens, super interesting team, the Ravens, now that they have, some help for Lamar, I guess. It's like Mark Andrews, Hollywood, Bateman, Duvernay is kind of a sleeper, Watkins. It's not a bad, that's not an empty cupboard.
No. Yeah. I want to talk for a second about the Bengals real quick. Not necessarily about Chase. I think Chase is a good prospect. I know you're a little low on him, Theo, but even he's probably going to be a good. Yeah. A lot of people are sitting here saying like, oh, they should have gone Sewell. Do they not care about Joe Burrow? Almost certainly Joe Burrow, given the choice, would make them pick Chase. They probably wanted them to pick Chase. He for sure had input on that pick. It's his guy. And the idea, first off, the Bengals, I'm not going to sit here and vouch for their offensive line, but they do have 2 startable tackles right now.
They do.
And they also have picks past the first round that they can add onto this offensive line. And there's some good prospects who have fallen, I think, within their reach. So certainly. I think people are really ready to do make the Bengals offensive line sucks memes. But I don't know how much. Like, it might not be good, but I don't agree with that.
I think the one thing people are forgetting, Joe Burrow got injured because of interior pressure. He didn't get beat. He didn't get injured because someone got beat off the edge. He got injured because someone got beat inside. You could maybe you could move Sewell to guard. If they had drafted Sewell, maybe you could have moved, Slater to guard, whatever. But realistically, you don't need to draft a tackle. Again, like you said, they have 2 startable tackles. You didn't need to draft a tackle. If you get a guard in the second round, you can develop in a year or 2. That's fine.
It's also a team that had nothing in terms of big playability. And I know the number one thing everyone says is like, of course he didn't have any big plays. He didn't have any time. They don't understand how pressure works if you say that, because no quarterback is pressured every single time. Like, how many attempts did Joe Burrow have without pressure? I'm going to look it up here real quick. It's probably like 500 or so snaps. It is 300. He had exactly 300 dropbacks with no pressure this year. And they did nothing down the field. So a big, explosive, muscular rack guy, deep threat guy like Chase will pretty much guarantee that they hit a couple more, really any big plays this season, because there were a stark lack of them last year. And I honestly think Chase helps you get big plays more than a guard does. So this is a pick that the Bengals got clowned for. Even as someone who's not the world's biggest Chase fan, I didn't have him as my wide receiver 1. He was like my wide receiver 3 or 4. I still don't hate this pick.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about who your winner is so far throughout the draft?
I kind of want to lean Dolphins. Yeah, I know we talked about, maybe they should have taken O-line, but they got Waddle. Waddle's an excellent receiver. They got end, or I guess edge defender. They got an edge defender. And those were two positions I think they really needed to fill. And I think they did a good job of filling positions of need with high level players. That's something that I don't think every team did super well, and the Dolphins did it twice.
Yeah, I think I'll say Washington just because I'm a Jamin Davis stan. And I think Jamin Davis is going to eat behind that defensive line where he's going to be kept clean. And he's just as good of an athlete as Micah Parsons is. Just as good, just as good in coverage, just as good as, or maybe even better in coverage and run support, in my opinion. And he's got a better defensive line in front of him to keep him clean. Ron Rivera came out after the draft and said Jamin Davis was the top defensive player on our board. That's how good he is. And he wasn't my top defensive player. That was Jalen Phillips. So I agree with you that Miami's are winners. But for the sake of being different, I really feel like that Jamin Davis pick, I think that he's going to make Pro Bowls in his career.
I'm going to go, I might go a little bit of a sleeper. I could sit here and say the Bears because they got Justin Fields. And really my winner is the Bears. But I'm going to say the Bills. I really like the Rousseau move.
Let's go, Rousseau gang, Rousseau gang.
Theo, you just made Theo's night.
Adding to a defensive line of a team that at least Theo thinks, and I tend to agree, maybe run defense is a little bit of the concern. And you put him next to guys like Addison and Starr. I think that Rousseau has pretty high upside for a guy that you get at 30, and I think that he's going to a great place to develop.
And for losers, I know that I think it's weird to say the Jaguars because they got like the best quarterback prospect of the in a long time. But
he's gonna make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that ETN pick was like, what are you doing? But I don't know if I can call them losers just because.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think the Cardinals drafting Zaven Collins was just not a fantastic move, in my opinion. Like, I can see Zaven proving me wrong just because he's a rare body type. You don't get guys built like him. But that being said, because he's such a rare body type, I would have liked to seen him be a little bit more aggressive, be a little bit more physical against Tulsa competition. I just didn't really see Zaven, even though, as an athlete, he's special. I didn't really see that translate in a major way on the field. So I think Arizona was kind of a loser, in my opinion.
I would agree with you on the Jaguars. I want to sit here and say the Jaguars made a really bad pick, but I'm scared that Trevor Lawrence is going to become a Hall of Famer, and then 20 years from now, people are going to look back and be like, "He said they were losers, and they drafted a Hall of Fame quarterback." So I'm going to go with the Broncos, even though I think Patrick Surtain is an awesome player. Regardless, they got a really good guy. As of right now, they had Justin Fields on the board and Aaron Rodgers asking to get out of Green Bay. That team is a quarterback away. They failed to get a quarterback. That's a loss
until they trade Surtain for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no, I'll agree. It's not that they're out of the market. It's not that they're out of the market for Rodgers, but once they made that pick at 9 overall, it definitely
the odds went down.
The odds went down. You need it. I agree with you. I think that the Broncos are at minimum a good playoff team with Rodgers.
That's another loser. The Packers. Eric Stokes is not that good. He's got speed. That's about all the nice things I have to say about Eric Stokes.
You guys said you wouldn't pick Jacksonville to be a loser because they took a potentially perennial quarterback talent. I am absolutely going to say, why in the hell did you pick Travis Etienne? That makes no goddamn sense. That makes no sense. You have James Robinson, who you have making basically no money. They added Carlos Hyde, so they had depth at running back. It's not like they didn't have any running backs. That pick makes literally no sense. You had so many other needs. You needed a tackle. You needed a secondary. I said they should have picked Trayvon Merrick. Like, what in the hell were you doing at that pick? That is a loss of a pick. That is a wasted draft pick.
I think we all feel the same way about him too, where it's like it's not a problem with ETN. Like ETN might go out and run for 1,200 yards.
I have no problem with ETN. Yeah, he's a solid player, but it won't add anything to their team in terms of value.
Yeah, I just don't think you can call a first round where you get Trevor Lawrence an L. I just don't. Like, I think the pick is
it's fair. In a vacuum, that's the worst pick of the draft, I think.
I would agree that pick is the worst, but I don't think the Jaguars are coming out of this draft feeling like, whoa, we suck. I can't imagine.
Well,
and I think the Giants getting Tony is also a little bit of a loss, just because, Daniel Jones is another guy. Daniel Jones is another guy under constant duress last year, much like Burrow was, except they made their move for a wide receiver already this offseason in Galladay. And, their tackles, they've got Andrew Thomas, who came into his own at the end of last year. Like, he started a little bit rough, but he's a rookie coming off a season with no training camp, but he wasn't all that bad at the end. But they still could have used another tackle. And I like Tony a lot, but again, building these crazy wide receiving cores while ignoring the trenches. They lost Dalvin Tomlinson. Blake Martinez is a solid linebacker, but they could have used another one there. Adoree Jackson, like they could have used a corner because Adoree Jackson probably isn't the answer. So I would say the Giants are another one. Like, I know the Bengals are the ones who get the most like, oh, why didn't they draft a tackle? Why did they draft a wide receiver instead? I feel like the Giants kind of took that L a little bit harder than the Bengals did.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps things up on our end. I would like to thank, everybody for listening. This is our, first time doing a second episode this week, so that's really cool. But before we go, let's take care of a little bit of business. So obviously, guys, don't forget to rate and review the show. And speaking of reviews, we will actually be reading some of your reviews on the show from time to time, like this one from Crack B, 5-star rating. We love those. The subject is Spawn Hour Dumb, and he says, please make them 7 times a week. I don't think that's necessarily feasible.
I don't think he missed there. Spawn Hour Dumb, make these 7 times a week. He's 2 for 2.
You must have meant to type your name, man.
But I guess I'll read one more from D.Lou44, another 5-star rating. He says, Matt, do a corn review. Thoughts?
Not going to happen. I'm out of the corn review game. I've been out of the corn review game for a while.
Matt's not a man of the people. You heard it here first.
It got to the point where, friends of friends were getting corn review requests. People who, I was barely, acquaintances with. Look at their comments.
It was tearing your life apart.
Yeah, it's just, there's no break from it. I go to sleep, I dream of corn, I wake up in a sweat. It's just, it got to be too much. So
you're reviewing this, you're giving the corn a low grade here, correct?
I'm not reviewing corn anymore. I'm out of the game. I told you.
I think that was a review, and you gave
Matt is not a man of the people.
Matt gave a corn review and gave it a low grade.
Maybe it'll come back at some point. But
be sure to spam him extra with corn reviews in the future and tell everyone
you're a bad person.
Yeah. All right, guys, that wraps things up for round 1 of the draft. We'll be talking about round 2, round 3, maybe some more analysis on round 1 next Tuesday. And to leave you off, this is a song that my dad's dad band wrote in 2012 called Draft Day Wonder. And got to give them a little shout out by making that the bumper music here. So see you next week.
I'm on the clock. Gotta weigh my options. I'm on the clock. Selection. I'm on the clock.